What's up, everybody? Welcome to Neon Mushroom. Welcome back if you've been here before. I'm Adrian, and today we've got another EDH/Commander gameplay video for you guys. Let's just go ahead and take a look at what decks everyone's going to be playing in some opening hands, and then we can get right into the game. First up, we have Aiden bringing his brand new Jhoira Weatherlight Captain deck to the channel. He'll be keeping a 7-card hand with Arid Mesa, Glimmervoid, Buried Ruin, Sai Master Thopterist, Mystic Forge, Phyrexia Metamorph, and Herald of Kozilek. Then we have Guy returning with his Greven Predator Captain deck. Keep in mind this is the last we'll see of this deck for a little while. He's using some of the singles for this deck to build another deck that's going to be featured on this channel. He keeps a 7-card hand with Hull of the Bandit Lord, Prismatic Vista, Marsh Flats, Smoldering Marsh, Soul Ring, Thought Vessel, and Myriad Landscape. Then we have Jake playing his Tuvasa the Sunlit deck, and keep in mind that this deck also won't be appearing on the channel for a little while. Jake has some spicy new brews he'll be playing in videos coming soon. He keeps a 7-card hand with Lumbering Falls, Sunpetal Grove, Island, Forest, Rancor, Finest Hour, and a Plea for Guidance. And then there's me. Much like Aiden, I've prepared a brand new deck for the channel. Well, new to me, maybe not so much for other people who've played this deck. It's Meren of Clan Nel Toth, and I'll be keeping Court of Calling, Green Sun Zenith, Malera Silvok Outcast, Grave Pact, Elves of Deep Shadow, Marsh Flats, and a Polluted Delta. Alright, I won the die roll, so I'm just going to draw for turn, drop a Forest, and play an Elves of Deep Shadow, passing the turn over to Aiden. He'll follow suit and draw on a card, and he's going to play Arid Mesa. With nothing else to do, he passes to Jake, who puts a tapped Lumbering Falls into play, and finally Guy's going to draw. He'll drop Command Tower, Soul Ring, and obviously he's got the Rock as well in Thought Vessel. He'll pass the turn to me. After drawing my card, I'll play a Polluted Delta as land for turn. I'll drop Malera Silvok Outcast, and I'll have to use the Elves of Deep Shadow to tap for mana, so I will lose a life. Before I can pass to Aiden, he cracks his fetch and gets a Steam Vents into play tapped. Then he's going to untap, draw his card for turn, and he's going to play a land. That land he's going to play is Buried Ruin, very good in a deck like this. Then I'll tap out for Torpor Orb, and he kind of gives me a sly look from the side. Jake's going to untap and draw a card. He's going to go ahead and play a Forest and just pass the turn over to Guy. Guy's going to untap for his second turn, already having 4 mana up, and then he's going to go ahead and drop a copy of Prismatic Vista. He'll fetch with it, losing a life. He's going to go get a copy of Mountain, and then he's going to tap out for his Commander on turn 2. Terrifying. Before he can pass the turn to me, I'm going to go ahead and crack Polluted Delta for a copy of Overgrown Tomb tapped. I'll take a life from that. Then I'll untap my mana, draw a card for turn, and I'm going to go to play my land drop. This time it's going to be a copy of Marsh Flats. I'll immediately crack the Marsh Flats, losing a life, to get a swamp. Then I'll tap out for a copy of Grave Pact, losing 1 to my Elves of Deep Shadow, passing to Aiden. Aiden will untap his lands and draw a card for turn. Then he's going to play a Glimmervoid as his land for turn, and he's going to tap out and play a copy of Herald of Kozilek. At that point he'll drop Voltaic Key for free and pass the turn to Jake. After drawing, Jake will play Sunpetal Grove, and he will drop his commander, Tuvasa the Sunlit, passing the turn to Guy. Guy untaps and draws a card for turn. He's going to drop Myriad Landscape as his land for turn, and then he's going to turn Greven sideways at me. It has Menace, so I can't block, so I'll take 5 commander damage and drop to 31. Then I'll untap and draw my card, and I'm going to go ahead and tap 4 mana. I'm going to use my elf to actually convoke out the Court of Calling, so I won't take a life from it, and I'm going to get Visira Seer into play. At that point, the Court will be resolved and hit the graveyard, and I'll just pass the turn to Aiden. After drawing a card for turn, Aiden's going to tap 2 mana and cast Phyrexia Metamorph for its reduced cost, paying 2 life for the blue Phyrexia mana. Copy Guy's Soul Ring, tap it for 2, use one of those 2 to untap it with Voltaic Key, and then he's going to tap it for 2 additional mana to play Mystic Forge for its reduced mana cost. Checking the top card of his library, he sees it's Jeweled Amulet, so he's going to play that. Then he's going to check the top card again and see that it's an Everflowing Chalice. He'll decide to cast that as well. The next card in sequence is going to be a fetch land, so that ends his chain. Before he can pass his turn, I sacrifice Malera to Visira Seer, triggering Grave Pact. All of my opponents have to sacrifice their only creature. I scry to the top, and then we pass the turn over to Jake. Jake's going to go ahead and drop a basic island as his land for turn, then I'll tap 1 green to play Wild Growth. He's going to attach that to his island, and then after that point, he's going to tap 2 more mana, and he's going to drop a copy of Swiftfoot Boots, passing the turn to Guy. Before he can, Guy has an action. He'll tap for black, lose 2 life, and cast Vampiric Tutor. He's going to search his library for a copy of Chaos Warp, put it to the top of his library, put his deck back, untap his lands, and draw a card for turn. He'll play Hall of the Bandit Lord, passing the turn to me. Moving on to my 5th turn, I'm going to untap all my permanents and draw a card. At that point, I'll drop Phyrexian Tower as my land for turn. I'm going to tap out, and I'm going to cast my commander, Meren of Clan Nel Toth. Then I'll sacrifice Visira Seer to itself. That'll trigger Meren, and I'll get an experience counter. I'll scry to the top, and at my end step, Meren will trigger. It has 1 experience counter, so I get to buy back Visira Seer into play. Before I can pass, Iden's going to tap 1 mana and put a counter on Jeweled Amulet. That's going to allow it to tap for mana next turn. And then we'll move to Iden's turn. He's going to go ahead and untap all of his permanents and draw a card for turn. He'll remember to untap his Voltaic Key, and then he's going to go ahead and check the top card of his library. Now at this point, he's going to tap some mana and follow suit with what the rest of the table's already done at some point this game, and cast his commander, Jhoira. Now with Jhoira in play, he's going to tap 2 more mana, removing a counter from the Jeweled Amulet to put Izzet Signet on the stack. That's going to trigger Jhoira. With Jhoira's trigger on the stack, I'm going to sacrifice my Elves to Viscera Seer, scrying to the top. Most importantly, I'll get an experience counter and trigger Grave Pact, so he has to sacrifice Jhoira. He accidentally puts it in the bin. He remembers that he wants it in the command zone. He can't really reanimate her. Then Izzet Signet resolves, and he draws his card. He'll play a fetch land and pass the turn to Jake. Jake's going to go ahead and draw, and then play a copy of Glacial Fortress as his land for turn. He'll tap out and cast Plea for Guidance, which is going to have him searching his library for 2 enchantment cards and putting them into his hand. So he'll reveal Oblivion Ring and Thassa, God of the Sea, as the cards he wants to put in his hand. Before he can pass to Guy's going to tap 2 mana and crack his Myriad Landscape. He's going to go search his library for 2 basic swamps into play tapped, and after some deliberation, he's going to tap 3 mana and try to resolve Chaos Warp. It's going to work. He struggles to figure out what the correct target is, but it ends up being Grave Pact, which makes a lot of sense considering he needs Greven in play to win. And then I shuffle Grave Pact into my library. After I shuffle that Grave Pact into my library, I'm going to snag the top card and pass it over to Iden, so we can bless it as per the ritual. And then I'm going to flip that card and show everybody a copy of Protean Hulk, which seems really good, but I actually have some mixed feelings about it. I'll explain it at the end of the video. It enters the battlefield, and then I'm going to go ahead and sack it to my sack outlet, Viscera Seer. That's going to allow me to scry. I skip that. I use this Dice trigger to get creatures with CMC 6 or less into play. The first time I choose Zulaport Cutthroat and Body Snatcher. At that point, Body Snatcher's ability is actually blinked by Torpor Orb. Then I sack the Body Snatcher to Viscera Seer, and I buy back my Protean Hulk. This triggers the Zulaport Cutthroat. Then I'll sack Protean Hulk to the Viscera Seer, triggering Zulaport again. This time I go and get Mikaeus the Unhallowed and Walking Ballista. At that point, I'm able to sacrifice the Walking Ballista to the Viscera Seer, comes back with Undying, and then I can remove the counter infinitely to kill everybody and win the game. That may have been one of the nuttiest Chaos Warps I've ever been a part of. I want to start by getting into why I had mixed feelings on Chaos Warp hitting the Protean Hulk. And the reason for that is because, well, normally, in most scenarios, including this one, Protean Hulk's just about the best target you could hope to hit off of a Chaos Warp in this particular build of Meren of Clan Toth. And the reason is because when you have a sock outlet, like Viscera Seer, you can functionally string together a win very easily. I'm not super experienced with this deck. We only played like 1 or 2 games before finally recording one, so I could kind of get to grips with like how the deck functions. I'm a blue player typically, and it was really weird to play a deck that wasn't blue. But since it's just the 4 of us for now playing Commander, sometimes we'll have another person in and another person out. But we have a limited pool of decks, so this is one of the decks that we built to try to like diversify the content we're bringing to you guys. Iden had a copy of Torpor Orb, and I was under the assumption when I first hit the Protean Hulk that the Torpor Orb would shut down any combo potential that I might have. Upon the edit actually did a lot of justice. That turn took like 10 minutes for me to like figure it out, because again, this is not my play style. Luckily, the guy sitting across from me, Mr. Guy Scott, is a seasoned Meren player, so he was able to help me out a little bit on how we do this. The the Mikaeus and Walking Ballista combo. Sometimes you can use Mikaeus in conjunction with Triskelion as well. But it wound up being fine. It wound up winning me the game, actually. But that's where the mixed feelings came from. I was initially like, that's the best card. And then my emotions swung to like, I can't deal with Torpor Orb. And then, because I can't like get a Reclamation Sage or something. Because obviously the Torpor Orb will stop the enter the battlefield trigger. But it wound up being okay. I ended up kind of botching the sacrifice to Viscera Seer with the Protean Hulk, because I didn't actually have to go get Body Snatcher and Zulaport Cutthroat. I could have went straight for Mikaeus and Walking Ballista. That would have killed on its own. Doesn't really matter. We've won the game on turn 5, I guess. So that's all I probably need to say about the Meren deck. It used to be, I don't know if it still is, at one point it was a pretty strong CEDH deck. The way I built it isn't quite the CEDH deck. In fact, the initial construction of the deck was much closer to what the CEDH deck looked like. And to be honest, there's maybe only one more game going to come out with Meren in the pool. The deck's exceedingly powerful, but I don't know that it lends itself towards very interesting gameplay for the viewer. and it's also not something I like to do. I like much more grindy, attrition-y games of Magic personally. Maybe there's a way we can build Meren that's a bit more casual. We'll be looking into that. Next up, I want to look at Aiden's deck. This is a new deck for him, and it's going to be the Jhoira Weatherlight Captain deck. The deck's awesome. If you watched any of Mitch from Commander's Quarters content, you'll know that that's a deck that he plays. He likes it a lot. You can build it on a budget. In this case, we decided not to do that. We'll get Aiden's deck list out very soon. It's a good one. It's an expensive one. Guy is playing Greven. Let's talk about Aiden a little bit more before I hop off. You know, maybe we shouldn't. Aiden was probably really close to winning the game. It's lucky that I won when I did. We got another game with Jhoira coming out pretty soon, so maybe I'll just leave that up to anyone who knows how the deck wins. Cool. If you don't, it's a combo deck. It involves, it's a storm combo is the way he built it. So I won't spoil too much of it for anyone who doesn't know, because there's a game coming out that he might win. Maybe he doesn't. Am I giving away too much information? Do you care? I don't know. Next up, Guy. We've seen Greven before. Greven was great here. It did the thing. He got his Greven on turn 2. Lucky for me, he didn't have quite enough sauce to just straight up kill me on turn 3 or 4. If he had, I couldn't have stopped him by myself. You know, the Grave Pack did a lot of work helping me there. But his deck did what it wanted to, and Jake's deck also kind of did what it wanted to. It was the least powerful deck at the table. He really just wanted to give Tuvasa one more game. He's got some really cool new decks coming out. If you liked Nekusar, there's a new deck he built that you might be a fan of. But yeah, the Tuvasa deck operated just fine. The game ended on turn 5. Tuvasa isn't really going to hang in a pod where the game just ends on turn 5. That's all I have for you guys as far as the game wrap-up goes. Again, I'm not sure that I want the games to go this quickly at this power level, because we're not trying to do like the CEDH thing, but we're also trying to play with fairly optimized and focused decks. So finding that balance is going to be interesting, but I hope that this was a fun video for you to watch nonetheless. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.